Ladies and gentlemen, if the elected members of the committee could please sign in, we're going to take roll here in just a few moments. If elected members on the committee could sign into their seats. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will call to order the Tuesday, March 11, the year 2025 Transportation Subcommittee of the Tennessee House of Representatives. If elected members have signed in, Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the board to take the roll, please, sir. All members, please signify by pressing the button if you're present. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, there are 8 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The chair and the clerk both detect a quorum. Glad to have everybody here today. We just had another spirited conversation in full transportation committee. I enjoyed Chairman Howell and his work in there, and very interesting committee on so many levels. So Chairman Howell, thank you very much. Do we have any personal orders to come before the committee? Representative Butler first. Representative Butler, or Chairman Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take this opportunity. I've got one of my daughters, my middle daughter, with me today. She's off work today. She's a nurse at the Overland County Nursing Home. And yesterday was her 21st birthday. So we're going to make her stand and give a 3-minute speech here in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. But I just want to make her feel welcome.
Thank you. Let's make her welcome. And I couldn't help, young lady, I couldn't help but notice your dad mentioned you had a lack of desire to drive a truck. I think you can drive just about anything you want to, and I'll give you permission. The goosenecks, anything you want to drive, we'll welcome you driving that, okay? We talked with your sister in here a couple of weeks ago, too, so thanks for being a good sport. Welcome. Representative Ashley, you're recognized. Personal order.
We've got some people from Sevier County here. I'd just like to recognize Roger Riddell, Robbie and Samantha Satterfield. We've got Sevier County FFA and the 4-H members, and Jason Whitaker from Farm Bureau, and he's my agent. And I just want to know my insurance did go up this year. So anyway, I just like to recognize them.
Thank you. You're recognized. I've seen you drive, and I know why your rates went up. So, Representative Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not normal for me. I've been here several years, but I've never cast a shadow. But today I do have a shadow. I'd like to ask Bradley to stand up. She is my shadow for the day, and I thank her for putting up with my old man ways.
Thank you. Welcome. Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members in the audience, I see 2 Williamson County folks. Our county clerk, Mr. Jeff Whitby, who is a dear friend of mine. His grandmother was and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she was the longest serving county clerk in our county's history. We also have Mr. Cale McDowell, who is part of our Williamson Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate everything he does. Good man, good people. So please make them feel welcome.
Welcome. Glad to have you here. Thank you. Any other personal orders? All right. We do have a calendar before us today, substantial bills, and we're going to take a few housekeeping measures before we begin. We'll go down the calendar, and some bills will be taken either off notice or rolled for a period of time. I will remind folks that next week on the 18th of March will be our final calendar. For folks that are listening, need to put your bills on notice for this transportation subcommittee to be heard on our final calendar for next week. And some of these bills that I'm about to take action on will be rolled to that final calendar as well. Items number, and I'll go through item number 6 on our calendar, House Bill 1284, item number 6. The request has been to roll this bill for 1 week without objection. Item number 7 on our calendar, House Bill 615 by Chairman Travis. The request has been to take this bill off notice Without objection. Item number 13 on our calendars, House Bill 556 by Capley. The request has been to roll this bill for 1 week. Without objection. Item number 14, House Bill 537 by Leader Camper. The request has been to roll this bill for 1 week as she works on the amendment. Without objection. Item number 17, Chairman Howell's bill, House Bill 212, one of our omnibus bills. We're going to roll that to the final calendar. Again, to remind any members on these two omnibus bills to get your amendments to us. If I could, thank you, Chairman Howell. House Bill 212, item number 17, rolled 1 week without objection. And item number 18, House Bill 213 by Chairman Howell, also will be rolled 1 week without objection. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin our calendars. We have item number 1. We'll go down our calendar. It is House Bill 127. You have your motion. You have a second. Chairman Howell, you're recognized. We have some amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I have Amendment 4573.
Okay. Chairman, I think we've got a couple of amendments on the bill. A couple have been filed, 4573, but we may want to look at
5105.
Amendment Drafting Code 5105.
Yes.
If members
Correct.
could take a quick look at your marked calendars. Again, we've got a couple of different amendments before us. The committee is going to entertain House Amendment, what is listed as House Amendment number 2, 5105. All right, make some changes to the legislation, and I think it'll be best to discuss the bill as we adopt this particular amendment. So, what I'd like to do is hear a motion, and we have a motion. We have a second on adopting Amendment Drafting Code 5105. Let's go ahead and put that on the bill. All those in favor of adoption of House Drafting Code 5105 amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Your bill is amended. And now we will stand for a description of your bill. You recognize Chairman Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment that was added does two things. It reintroduces the definition for public transit, which was inadvertently, I believe, removed. And it also removes the rental cars from the bill as far as being a part of the special option tax. They are already taxed twice, and we feel like a third tax on top of that would be quite a burden. The General Assembly passed the Improve Act back in 2017. Among other things, the act allowed our 5 largest cities, our 12 largest counties, to levy a local option surcharge or a local privilege tax. And the purpose was to fund highways, bridges, and projects, as well as public mass transit improvements in our largest cities. This bill just simply extends that authority statewide to all the cities and counties in the state of Tennessee. One thing of note, it is important to note this, that if passed, the cities and counties across Tennessee can do a special option tax, but it must be put on a referendum. It'll have to be on the ballot. The people will have to vote on it. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Any questions? I don't want to blindside you, Chairman Howell, but just a quick question. Does this change any current situation with any of the local governments that currently have these provisions in place?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, all the 5 large cities, the 12 largest counties, everything remains the same. All the statutory requirements are still in place. The surcharge must be approved by the voters. It just extends it statewide.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions or comments for the sponsor? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 127 to full Transportation Committee, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
9 ayes, 0 noes. House Bill 127 meets with approval and will move forward to full Transportation Committee. Thank you, Chairman. We're now on item number 2 on our calendars. Item number 2 is House Bill 1129 by Chairman Farmer. Chairman Farmer, you have a motion. You have a second. You are recognized, sir. Do you have an amendment on your bill?
I do, Mr. Chairman, members. It's 4943.
All right. Thank you. Chairman Farmer has an amendment to his bill, drafting code 4943, as we've heard. Let's go ahead and put that amendment on the bill. All those in favor of adopting amendment drafting code 4943 to the bill, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Your bill is amended. Let's hear what you're doing there, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee. I appreciate that. And that bill did, that amendment did rewrite the bill. So I'm glad you all went ahead and put that on there. Members, Mr. Chair, what this does, it provides and allows for an assurance that the borrow pits that are currently operating in the state of Tennessee can continue to do so long that they're operating and have FEMA contracts, disaster-related FEMA contracts. So we don't want anything getting in the way. I mean, those materials coming out of the earth, gravel, making it to rebuild our communities, roads, bridges, so forth. What the amendment did, with working with TDOT, just wanted to be sure that what I was doing didn't affect our federal matching dollars from the federal government. So Clean Water Act, all that stuff it's in compliance with all the federal laws and things like that. So that's what the bill does, members. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you. You've heard the brief description. Representative Bain, you're recognized for a question and comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Farmer, can you explain to me, like I'm a neophyte, what this bill does? What a barrow pit is for those of, I don't know.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Sure, and I thank you for that question. Frankly, I was I misunderstood myself when about a borrow pit. It's a quarry. Basically, you go and bust gravel, and they take the gravel out of the ground and crush it, and it ends up in your driveway and our roads, and it's part of making concrete and everything else. It's gravel.
Representative Bain.
Okay, so can you explain one more time what this bill does?
Yeah.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, you're fine.
Got a little excited there. Yes, what this bill does, it puts some safeguards in place.
Okay.
And says that if you are operating as a current borrow pit, so it doesn't apply to anyone that's doesn't already been licensed and operating in the state of Tennessee, and if you have FEMA contracts, disaster-related FEMA contracts, that the local governments or whomever can't get in the way of what you're doing as long as you're providing those services to rebuild our communities.
Okay.
Representative Bain.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your assignment, Chairman Farmer. Gravel excites me too. So I really appreciate that part of the conversation there, sir. Any further questions? Representative Ashley, you're recognized, sir. He has moved previous question. So previous question has been called. Mr. Clerk, please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 1129 to Full Transportation Committee, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Does any member wish to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
Chairman Farmer, your bill, House 1129, moves to Full Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready for item number 3 on our calendars. House Bill 621 by Chairman Eldridge. You have a motion, sir. You have a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. House Bill 621 deals with the motor vehicle warranty protection business, which Tennessee's regulated by law for about 20 years. Presently, each warrantor must file registration records with the Department of Commerce and Insurance annually. Also, under the present law, a warrantor must notify the department of any changes to the product within 30 days of making that change. And this bill would permit a warrantor who is filing a renewal without any changes to do so without making any additional registration filings. The requirement to notify the department of any change in the product within 30 days does remain in the bill.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman Eldridge. You've heard the brief explanation. Any questions or comments from members? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? Mr. Clerk, please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 621 to Full Transportation Committee, please signify by saying yes. All those opposed, please signify by voting no. Has every member voted? Would any member like to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
House Bill 621, receiving a majority vote, will move forward to full transportation committee.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Thank you, Chairman Eldridge. We're now ready for item number 4 on our calendars, House Bill 624 by Chairman Kiesling. Chairman Kiesling, you have a motion and you have a second, sir. You are recognized for
All
a
right.
description of your bill.
Thank you, Chairman, and it's great to be with you and your committee today. House Bill 624 is relative to registration and licensing of motor vehicles. The intent here of the bill is to modify the existing law that permits a standard service charge to ensure that clerks across our state are allowed to keep up with the rising cost of shipping and handling fees. Now, in 2023, we as the General Assembly passed legislation that would effectively create an index for county clerks to adjust the fees collected for processing mail orders of plates, license plates that is, and decals contingent upon the price of the United Postal Service. Well, our county clerks have found it difficult to apply any such rate increase because of the lack of uniformity in the U.S. with the U.S. Postal Service. Give me an amen, someone from the committee.
I'm still waiting on my mail from
Don't
2
we?
weeks ago, so,
Don't we know that?
Chairman.
So anyway, the legislation seeks to authorize a clerk's office the ability to increase the fee for handling these mail orders for both the plates and the decals. So let's talk about the plates. This would raise the plates from shipping it from $5 to $7. That would give them that much for a new plate, and then the decals from $1, the existing $1 to $2 or $3. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Kiesling. And I do know in the fiscal summary that this is permissive legislation.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you very much for that. Yes, that is correct.
Thank
permissive.
you. Any questions for? Previous question has been called. Mr. Clerk, can you please open the vote? All those in favor of sending House Bill 624 to full transportation committee, please signify by saying aye. Voting aye, excuse me. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change the vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
Chairman Kiesling, your bill, House Bill 624, moves to full transportation committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it, and committee.
Thank you. We are now on item number 5 on our calendars, House Bill 859 by Chair Lady Alexander. Representative Alexander, you have a motion and a second. I believe we have some amendatory language to your bill as well.
That is correct. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee. And my amendment is 4265.
All right. We see your amendment drafted code 4265. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead for the posture of this. We have a motion on your amendment. We have a second. Let's go ahead and vote on this, and we'll let you describe it when we get there. All those in favor of adopting House Amendment drafted code 4265 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Your bill is amended for description.
Okay. Thank you. And the amendment does make the bill.
Okay.
In my office, there's a file folder about this deep. And it says Jim Kay on it. Jim Kay has written me multiple times. He's a veteran in Johnson City. He has had a spinal cord injury, and he rides in an autocycle, what we also call a slingshot, but autocycle is what's in our code. And he can't wear a helmet because it affects his injury from battle. He and multiple others reached out to me that are having the same issue because they get on the road and then they get a ticket for not having a helmet. Multiple times we come back, and we finally, with Chairman Howell, Chairman Russell, Chairman Hawk, and with safety, thanks to Elizabeth, we came up with what we figured out what was the problem. We just needed to change the wording and the definition of what it means to be fully enclosed. And what got our attention was he was sending me pictures of Jeeps going down the highway with no sides on them, no doors on them, and they don't wear a helmet. And so it brought it to our attention. And so what this amendment did was it puts the definition of fully enclosed to mean it must have sides, it must have a roll bar or a roof, and it must have a windshield. And his vehicle did that. We have a lot of tourists coming through the mountains in East Tennessee. They love to ride our curvy roads. And so this gives them the ability to do that without the burden of a helmet. I ask you to give me any questions you wish concerning this.
Thank you very much for that explanation, Representative Alexander. Chairman McCalman, you're recognized, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, good bill. I don't have a question for you. I know exactly what these are. I think I'd certainly like to own one myself someday, but just would hope that you would not mind me co-sponsoring this bill with you. I think it's a good bill. So
I would be honored.
Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you. If we had a sign-on sheet, we might do it right now. I don't know if we could scrounge one up on the committee or not. Chairman Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As an avid motorcycle rider and a major supporter of veterans and a veteran myself, I appreciate you carrying this bill. That's the least we can do for some that have paid an ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And this gentleman's paid a pretty hefty sacrifice. So I appreciate you carrying the bill. And like my colleague over here, I'll be glad to sign on this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to commend the sponsor. I think we first talked about this issue maybe 3 years ago. I don't know. But you have persevered and you have been an advocate for this veteran who is your constituent, and you're to be commended. And it's a common sense bill. It just is a common sense bill. And so I'm glad to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Howell. Any further questions or comments? You ready to vote? Mr. Clerk, please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 859 to full Transportation Committee, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. Representative Alexander, House Bill 859 moves forward to full Transportation Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your constituent for his service. Thank you so much. Item number 6, the request has been to roll that bill 1 week. We've already taken action on that. Item number 7 on our calendars, House Bill 615, also has been taken off notice. We'll take no action on that. We're now ready for item number 8 on our calendar, House Bill 302 by Representative Martin. Oh, I saw him in the room just a moment ago. Representative Martin. Within the sound of our voices. Representative Martin, we are calling up item number 8 on our calendar is House Bill 302. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and you have a second. You are recognized, sir, on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. House Bill 302 aims to bolster the safety and efficiency of Tennessee roads. It is currently a traffic violation for anyone to impede the flow of traffic by stopping or parking their vehicle on a street or a highway. This bill goes one step further, that if the vehicle is stopped for the purposes of soliciting employment, the violator would receive a Class C misdemeanor. If a subsequent violation is the cause of an accident, the violator would receive a Class B misdemeanor. Employment transactions are more appropriately served in places of business. And the intent of this legislation is to disincentivize this kind of activity on public roads and help reduce things like traffic congestion and EMS response times. This legislation does not impact employment solicitation on private property or parking lots. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Thank you. You've heard the explanation. Representative Bain, question or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Representative Martin, I've received multiple emails from constituents against this bill and for a few reasons. One, if this bill targets day laborers and informal hiring practices, which in my district would disproportionately affect small businesses, contractors, and immigrant workers who rely on the system to fill our short-term workforce needs. This law would also criminalize economic activity, adding unnecessary barriers to business operations and workforce participation. So I have two follow-up questions for you. One, what input, if any, have you received from the industries that frequently use day laborers, such as construction, agriculture, and landscaping?
Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Well, this is about people are able to do, if it's day labor or anything else, that's not what's mentioned in the bill. This is what's mentioned in the bill is that if you're going to do these things, then you need to do these on places where you would do business. It could be a private parking lot. It just doesn't need to be a public road.
Representative Bain.
Can you give us examples of where these vehicles are on public roads?
Representative Martin.
Well, the bill would be like if you were to park your car in the middle of the road, or you were soliciting business in like a right of way or in a median or something like that. If you want to solicit business, you could go to some Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. If that private company, doesn't matter if you're there, that would be their choice because that's their private property. It's saying that you can't do this on public property.
Representative Bain.
Is this a problem in your district?
Representative Martin.
Well, this is something that's brought to me by a constituent.
Okay.
Representative Bain.
Has any economic analysis been done about the impact of this bill and workforce development and perhaps the impact on small businesses?
Representative Martin.
I'm not aware.
Representative Bain.
Well, I'm vehemently against this bill. I think it's bad for businesses and contractors. I think many construction companies and landscaping businesses in my district rely on day laborers to meet workforce demands. I know you're trying to kind of carve out that they can't be on public property, but I think it will have detrimental consequences for the industry at large. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Butler, you're recognized. Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Sponsor, this doesn't prevent anybody from hiring a day laborer. It doesn't prevent anybody from pulling up at the courthouse and parking in a parking spot and hiring somebody. Is that correct?
Representative Martin.
No, sir, it doesn't. And if I could go one step further, we've had in the last couple of years, I think 200,000 new vehicles that are on the roads. And so when you have cars that are using public places to solicit and people are getting out to solicit private business, that's impeding EMS. And so this bill is about safety more than it is about anything else.
Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're not inhibiting anybody's business. They just don't need to be doing it on a public road, but it doesn't prevent a public courthouse or a public building parking lot, does it?
Chairman Martin.
No, sir. It doesn't. This is about public roads and this is about safety when it comes to EMS. It has nothing to do about where someone is going to hire someone on their private property.
Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not seeing really how it's going to hurt small businesses, and a contractor myself. If we were to hire a day laborer, I think it would be in the best interest of the individual I'm trying to hire to do it in a parking lot, not in the middle of a street or road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Wright, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm only going to focus on two words. One is soliciting and the other is highway. How does this affect volunteer fire departments that might be soliciting money through an empty boot or whatever they might use, or a Shriner who might be collecting money for a hospital?
Representative Martin.
I would say, Chairman Wright, that those are not looking for labor. They're looking for donations, and there is a difference.
Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking for legislative intent, and you answered my question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions or comment for the sponsor? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 302 to full Transportation Committee, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 8 ayes and 1 no.
Representative Martin, your Bill 302 moves forward to full transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee.
We are now on item number 9 on our calendar. And Representative Vital is here with us. Yes, sir. You have a motion, you have a second. You are recognized. I think we're working on some amendatory language as well. Chairman Vital, 4143. Do you have a drafting code for an amendment?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This amendment will help make the bill. I'm going to suggest we go ahead and adopt. Do I have a motion? You have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor of placing amendment drafting code 4143 on the bill, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Your bill is amended and ready for full explanation of House Bill 736. Chairman Vital, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As you know, there's no place you go in your district without the subject of transportation and road improvements or necessary deferred maintenance that doesn't come up in discussion. Tennessee has become a state that has increased in population, and the cost of building and maintaining our roads is ever increasing. And so to effectively look at that, over the last several sessions, we have looked at short-term stopgaps, ways to fund additional infrastructure or deferred maintenance. What I am asking you today in House Bill 736 is to request TASER to look at the transportation infrastructure needs of our state. As transportation is a priority for our state and with our overall depleting revenues, we need to look at ways to generate more revenue that will meet our critical long-term highway and bridge infrastructure needs and planning. This study would look at alternative sources of funding to supplement the decreases in transportation infrastructure funding due to vehicles becoming more fuel efficient or using no fuel, and due to inflation-related increases in road construction and maintenance costs. A deep dive is necessary to look at revenue resources such as car rental fees, retail, delivery fees, highway impact fees for trucks, and sales tax collections, or road usage fees on the and collections on the sale of vehicles, just to name a few options. I don't have all the answers on where that revenue would come for. That's why we need this study. This study would do a thorough review and look at what other states are doing so we can compare them and address our infrastructure needs. TASER would conduct this study and prepare their report on recommendations to the General Assembly on transportation, sustainability, funding, sources, and deliver the report to us by September 30th, 2026, so that a new General Assembly can begin to address these issues and meet the needs of the public across Tennessee. And with that, I am available for questions.
Thank you, Chairman Vital. I will indicate, Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the sponsor. The timing on this is perfect, if not a little late. We've had many discussions, you and I, along with the committee, many hearings about the need for continuing and additional revenue streams, something other than, as you mentioned, stopgap measures, and we've reached the critical point. And I strongly support your effort here to get a TASER study and let them use their expertise to look at ways that we can do like so many other states have done already, and creating 4 or 5, sometimes 6 revenue streams to keep their infrastructure in the shape that our constituents expect them to be in. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the importance of looking at what other states are doing is very important to us, rather than just raising taxes or look at other short-term gaps funding.
Thank you very much, Representative Vital. I'll give a shameless plug. We do have House Bill 969 that would do a lot to go toward funding transportation as well. So this committee has approved twice. So shameless plug, which I'm happy to get in. You've heard the explanation of House Bill 736. Are you ready to vote? Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 736 as amended to full Transportation Committee, please vote aye. Any of those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Would any member like to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. House Bill 736, receiving an affirmative vote, you move forward to full transportation. We are now ready for item number 10 on our calendars. Item number 10 is House Bill 737. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. We have a second. We're in a posture with this. I believe there's an amendment amendment to be adopted on this one as well, Representative Vital.
Amendment number 4295, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to look at that one more time. Amendment 4925 by chance?
4295, excuse me. You're correct.
Okay. I'm going to give that a third look. And I've got Amendment 4925. We're going to come down there and clarify with you very quickly.
It may have been a typo from.
And,
yes, sir.
well, no, we'll hang on. We're going to hang on just a second there. We're going to
4925.
Yeah. We're going to pull up on dashboard real quick.
Is this for the Department of Revenue? Okay. Yeah.
All right. That is service with a smile. You don't get that at the. All right. Chairman Vital, you recognized.
Mr. Chairman, Amendment 4925.
All right. Third time is a charm. You have, this is going to be who's on first with Abbott and Costello if we keep going. Who's on first? We have a motion. We have a second to adopt Amendment Drafting Code 4925 on the bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted. We are now on House Bill 737 as amended. You're recognized, Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that inconvenience, members, without embarrassing me too bad. This bill seeks to allow a county court clerk's office the ability to request assistance from a neighboring clerk's office during a time the office is officially closed due to a natural disaster, public health emergency, or other temporary closure. In essence, it is a mutual aid bill between county clerks. The request must be made in writing and delivered to the county clerk by standard mail, electronic mail, or facsimile, and must specify the time of the emergency that the assistance is requested. The legislative intent of this piece is to provide a formal legal avenue by which a county clerk's office may request assistance in order to continue to provide services to constituents during the time of closures. Upon receiving the request of assistance, the county clerk may provide additional services such as completing vehicle registrations, registration renewals, and services pursuant to certain codes within the Tennessee Code annotated. For providing services, the assisting county clerk is entitled to charge and receive $2.50 and would also be collecting the amount of taxes that were due in the county of being served, not the county being collected. And with that, I will be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions or comments? Are you ready to vote? Mr. Clerk. if you could please open the vote. We are voting on House Bill 737 as amended. All those in favor, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Would any member like to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
House Bill 737 moves forward to full Transportation Committee. All right, we're on the vital part of our calendar today. That just shows how important it is, the vital, important part of our calendar. We're now on item number 11, House Bill 790. You have a motion. You have a second. Thankfully, I don't think we have an amendment on this bill. So maybe that was the old amendment as they were looking at. Chairman Vital, you have your motion. You have your second. You're recognized on House Bill 790.
Thank you, members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, House Bill 790 was brought to me by members of the National Guard. Former National Guard members cannot receive a symbol on their driver's license indicating prior military service because the DMV requires a DD-214 form. Only the Air Force, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, and Space Force receive them. This bill simply expands the DMV's ability to accept NGB 22 forms in addition to the DD-214. This allows honorable discharged National Guard veterans to receive this designation. And with that, I ask for your questions or support.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your work in this space. Chairman Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a Navy veteran, I appreciate you carrying something like this. What about our National Guard reservists? Do they get because I know it's quite a process to get the veteran put on your license because I've been through that process.
Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If they do have an NGB 22, they could receive that designation. So,
okay.
Chairman Butler.
That answers my question. I was just concerned that a inactive reservist or something like that would get that designation. And obviously I don't want somebody to get the recognition if they've not earned it. But if they have earned it, by all means, we need to make sure that we equip them through legislation like this to be able to get that veteran designation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Are you ready to vote? All those in favor of sending House Bill 790 to full Transportation Committee, Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the vote. All those in favor, please vote aye. All those opposed, please vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, if you could please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 0 noes.
House Bill 790 moves forward to full Transportation Committee. Thank you. We are now on item number 12 on our calendar. Item number 12 is House Bill 1168 by Chairman Vital. Have a motion. You have a second. You are recognized on House Bill 1168.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. Appreciate you giving me this time to move some bills forward before this committee closes. I promise this is the last bill. House Bill 1168 would make changes to the autonomous vehicle laws in the state. It would require that a human driver be present in ADS or automated driver systems vehicles. There are a lot of evolving opinions on this issue, and numerous states are working to see what fits the best for the trucking industry especially, but also private carriers. With that, I would like to make a motion to roll this bill to next year's calendar so that we can do some additional study and to also bring some people together for some discussion from both sides of the discussion. We don't want to get ahead of technology, and technology is in limbo, so I would like to do that, sir.
Okay. You've heard the request of the sponsor. Would you like to take any questions or answers or just wait?
I would be glad to take any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Does any member have any questions or comments? Chairman Howell, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to congratulate the sponsor for setting the record for the most bills at one time in subcommittee.
That is tremendous. The request has been from the sponsor that we make a motion as a committee. The motion has been And we've got a second, and I'm going to state the motion. The motion will be to roll House Bill 1168 to the first calendar of the 2026 meeting of the Transportation House Subcommittee. We have a second. Does everyone understand what we're voting on? Mr. Clerk, does that require a vote on the board, or can we just take that as a motion and go forward?
I can put it on the board. I can put it on the board.
I'm going to take that as a motion of this committee. If we need to take further action, I will, if we need action on the board, I will do that, but I'm going to move this as, the movement will be to roll this bill till the first calendar of this committee in 2026. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and if I'm wrong, in the next 15 minutes, somebody will come tell me. But without objection, House Bill 1168 is rolled as we have stated by motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. And I do say that this was one of my favorite committees for 3 years that I served on sub. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You're a valuable member to the committee. Thank you very much, Representative Vital. We have taken action on item number 13. It has been rolled for 1 week. Item number 14, additionally, working on some amendatory language. Additionally, item 14, we've taken action to roll that. We're now on item number 15 on our calendars. House Bill 536 by Leader Love. I know we've got some conflicts. I'm supposed to be in another meeting right now, and I think Leader Love may be in another committee at this moment. We'll roll this bill to the heel as we await Leader Love to come in without objection. We're now on item number 16 on our calendars, House Bill 1021 by Chairman Russell. Chairman Russell, you have a motion. You have a second. You are recognized, sir. Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 1021 helps solve some conflicts in case law. It treats billboards as all other structures under the Real Property Acquisition Act, and I've got some people here to testify to be able to answer more questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've heard a brief explanation. Without objection, we will go out of session, and we have requests from a couple of groups. We've got a request from Lisa Repetto from our Outdoor Advertising Association. Ms. Repetto, thank you very much for your patience and indulging us as we've carried on committee business and maybe a little shenanigans on the process as well. If you could please join us at the table. If you could tell us who you are, please state your name, who you're with, and what you would like us to know. We do limit conversation to 3 minutes, but you'll have an opportunity to answer questions after that. Ma'am, we are out of session, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Representative Hawk. My name is Lisa Repetto. I'm here today on behalf of the Outdoor Advertising Association of Tennessee, along with Ollie Kirby. I'm sure most of you know. As the sponsor has stated, the purpose of this bill is to bring consistency to Tennessee law when it comes to takings that adversely impact outdoor advertising structures. As the law currently sits, there is a conflict in case law between various divisions of the Tennessee Courts of Appeal that treat these types of takings differently. In one division, outdoor advertising structures are not compensable at all when they are adversely impacted in eminent domain. Instead, they are only offered relocation expenses, but very rarely can they actually be relocated, either because they can't be moved without destroying the sign, or they can't be permitted in another location that's in anywhere near that vicinity. There, as I'm sure a lot of you know, outdoor advertising is highly regulated both at the state and local level. Additionally, so the Court of Appeals decision that is relied upon by the Tennessee Department of Transportation in not including the owner of an outdoor advertising sign in just compensation proceedings is at odds with other Court of Appeal decisions as well as the Real Property Acquisition Act. And so that is the goal of this bill.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Any questions or comments while we're out of session? I'm going to go to Representative Wright first, and then Representative Banier next. Representative Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In visits on where these signs are placed and which ones would be considered compensatable and others not compensatable, I ran into a term that had something to do with grandfather. Give me those two terms again so I can talk about this.
Ms. Repetto, you're recognized.
Grandfathered generally in zoning law refers to a sign that was legal when it was erected, or any kind of structure that was legal under the applicable regulations when it was erected, but due to most of the time changes in the law, it is no longer. So what happens is a non-conforming structure is allowed to continue until it comes down, and then cannot, under most regulatory schemes, cannot be rebuilt once it is removed.
Representative Wright, Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what I was looking for is conforming and non-conforming. So most conforming signs would be paid for now. Is that correct?
No,
Ms.
sir.
Repetto.
None at all on the conforming side?
No, no, sir. If I understand your correct question correctly, you're asking if they are compensated for just compensation and not for relocation expenses. Am I understanding your question?
You're right on me.
So
Just compensation.
my understanding is that no billboards are included in just compensation. No billboard will get just compensation. They will only be offered relocation expenses, regardless of whether or not they can in fact be relocated.
So that is the impact of this bill that's before us then, is to seek that just compensation, whether the sign be conforming or non-conforming.
Correct. I think the key is, can it be relocated? And non-conforming signs, pretty much by definition, cannot be. Now, there may be other reasons why a sign could not be relocated, but its non-conforming status will generally prevent relocation.
Okay, so we're getting close to where I want to be.
Chairman Wright, you keep getting closer there, friend. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're in charge. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the non-conforming signs, some of that population could be revenue producing right now, correct?
That would be. I mean, generally, you're not going to have a sign that's not revenue producing. That's their purpose.
Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Then the point that I'm getting to is in the, whether it be conforming or non-conforming, if a sign is taken, if it's not producing revenue right now, I believe that brings a problem to me in the discussion that we've had before. I look at signs that are revenue producing, having an impact upon the owner because it was revenue producing. But a sign, whether it be conforming or non-conforming, if it's in disrepair and is not revenue producing, where would you think that sign would be in the legislations being proposed?
Well, I think the language of the legislation it is geared to whether it can be relocated or not. Revenue producing or not revenue producing would be reflected in the valuation. So signs generally are valued. Yeah, appraisers use three approaches to value: generally a cost approach, an income capitalization approach, and a sales comparison approach. Revenue producing signs would be valued based on the income they produce and what could be expected capitalized over time. A sign that's in disrepair, if you were valuing it, you would look at the cost it would to build it, depreciated for its obsolescence, and so it could be depreciated down to a very low value. So I'm not sure I'm answering you correctly.
Chairman Wright.
You're spot on with where I am, and you used the word that I had on my note here, depreciated. So a sign that's non-revenue producing that has lost its value through depreciation, I'm beginning to wonder where that sign sits in this legislation.
Ms. Curry, if you could tell us, we're going to recognize Ms. Curry. If you could tell us who you are, who you're with, and we'll welcome your answer.
Thank you. Holly Kirby, representing the Outdoor Advertising Association of Tennessee. I think the key here is that today, the value, whether it is income producing or not income producing, under the rules that we operate by today, that factor of income cannot be presented. That cannot be considered. So let's take the opposite of the example you're giving. You have an income producing or a non-income producing. None of that evidence can be presented at the trial. So under today's rules, but that is what we're working toward, is being able to present that. And if there is no income there, then that will show at the time when that's presented, when that evidence is presented by the appraiser.
Ms. Repetto, follow up, please.
Just to put a fine point on that, right now, there's no consideration at all about whether it's income producing or not. It's only, so a sign that is a high producer would be offered the same relocation expenses as a dilapidated sign. So that's really all that's ever offered. There's no distinction there.
Chairman Wright.
Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So where I think I'm beginning to see as we're discussing is, yes, you do not get compensated for a good revenue producing sign that's being taken, or I'll just stop there, being taken.
Right.
The problem I'm having with the sign that is depreciated is non-revenue producing being considered of some value appraised, when I view there might not be value there. So the legislation that's before us, for me, I think it's going to have to be cleaned up just a little bit to make sure that we are revenue producing and a non 100% depreciated sign, not revenue producing.
And Holly Kirby.
We'll get your mic on. There you go. You're recognized.
Holly Kirby again. I think that is exactly what putting Tennessee under true just compensation, like the other states around us, those facts come out in the one negotiation between the two parties. Right now, that information cannot even be presented. So we have no way to know that. And so I think this bill actually makes it clear, and I hadn't even thought about that particular perspective, that TDOT may actually save on a billboard that is dilapidated. So that I feel like this bill gives both parties the opportunity to present the evidence that they are not able to present today. We're just allowed to get relocation costs.
Ms. Repetto finish, and then I'll let you finish up.
Yeah.
Chairman Wright.
Just to add kind of a practical consideration on this, and so a non-revenue producing sign, it is probably going to be taken down without, but I mean, they're not going to, a sign company's not going to want to be paying rent on a non-producing sign. As far as dilapidated signs that are in disrepair, for the most part, those fall under regulations, the regulations of the state they're required to be kept in a state of repair. So I'm not sure that really is an issue that would come up very often in an eminent domain context.
All right, Chairman Wright, let's close up this.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've come at this from the direction of legislative intent. We are zero compensation now, and we're looking for compensation, but my intent is not to compensate where there's no value. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions? Representative Bain, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this may have been alluded to in this discourse, but just for the record, can you define what amortization is, the genesis of it, and what this bill seeks to do with that?
Ms. Repetto, we're going to get your mic on, and you're recognized.
Amortization is just generally, as a definition, it's a substitute for the payment of just compensation. So I think the best way to explain it is with an example. So, and it usually comes up in a regulatory scheme, not a taking scheme. So we're going to municipality passes an ordinance that requires spacing of 5,000 feet between signs. And if your sign does not meet that spacing requirement, rather than grandfathering it in as is typical, they might pass an amortization that says, all right, you can keep it up grandfathered for 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, you have to take it down for an asset, particularly with more modern signs that are income producing property intended to last for a long time. I mean, those steel monopole signs are generally installed in about 12 feet of concrete. So they're not going anywhere when you build that. And if it's a digital sign, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to put those up. It is a long-term asset. And so amortization, generally speaking, for those types of signs is not, in our view, an adequate substitute for just compensation.
Representative Bain.
And how does this bill address that?
It just says that amortization, that telling us that we can keep that sign in place for a period of years is not sufficient for just compensation. So what we're saying is that just compensation is paying us for the value of that structure on the property that's being taken. That is just compensation, not telling us that we can keep the sign up for a period of time and that equals your just compensation. Correct? That's legally correct? Okay.
Ms. Repetto, we'll get your mic on. You're recognized.
And this is consistent with the federal treatment as well. I mean, so this language mirrors the language in the Federal Highway Beautification Act.
Okay. Representative Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, and I'm a big fan of billboards. I've put up probably 100 billboards in my lifetime. You all probably didn't know that, for everything across the country. However, I do think that this would withhold autonomy and undermine local governments from choosing that process. So I'm gonna have to be a no, but I do know that they The financial burden of removing a lot of these, comes at a cost, and municipalities take the hit. And so for me, I don't feel that this bill would adequately address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Renault, you're recognized.
Forgive my freshmanness here. Could you tell me a little bit more about what the courts in other states have decided on this, and what states those are?
Ms. Repito.
If you know.
I haven't got a list memorized.
Okay.
I know that based on my research in this area over the years, Tennessee's position is a minority position. Neighboring states of Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana, compensate, do follow the Real Property Acquisition Act and compensate the owners of structures in eminent domain proceedings. I think Kansas follow. I mean, like I said,
Okay.
I just don't have the list off the top of my head, but we can get that for you.
I'm just curious if it was like
Yeah.
West Coast or if it's across the United States, if it's broad. My second question is in regards to the compensation formula. What does that look like? Can you give me an example of I'm assuming, make sure I understand this correctly. If the state says, hey, you have to take this billboard down for whatever reason, and it's an income producing billboard that's 10 years old, what is the state on the hook for to provide just compensation in a situation like that, or some other situation that you're aware of?
Sure. Well, this is generally the fight at trial. Ordinarily, the condomnor their expert is arguing for a cost approach, which is the depreciated cost to construct. The condemnee is putting on evidence or trying to put on evidence that of what someone would buy this improved leasehold for. So that is generally determined by, I mean, there's a market for these things, and the price is determined by, this is with any income generating property, with how much, what kind of income stream you can anticipate over time for the asset to produce. I can say in my experience and in the states that do that, by and large, that testimony and that evidence is allowed in, and then it's for the jury to decide on a case-by-case basis. I mean, there's not really a standard price tag on this. This is one of the issues we had with the fiscal note that seems to have some assumptions that we think are maybe misleading. Every sign is going to have its own particulars with regard to the stability of the lease and the income experienced over time that will go into that evidence that would be presented to an eminent domain jury to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm curious, this sounds like a property rights issue to me. So if they're going to build a new road, and I understand if we're compensating additional individuals, it does add some cost to building roads. And obviously we already know there's a struggle there. However, if I own a dilapidated house, as my colleagues, and I don't disagree with him, if I own a dilapidated house that may be questionable whether it's livable or not, and let's just say it's valued at $100,000, that's no different than a billboard, because the billboard, if it's a ground lease or they own that little circle of property that's sitting on, it still has value. And so I have a question and kind of laying that groundwork. If this legislation is simply just saying we want to be compensated fairly for the value of the ground lease and or the sign itself, regardless of whether it's been depreciated, regardless of whether it's been dilapidated, because if there's not producing any income, then obviously that analysis will value it less. If it's in disrepair, they may not care, just knock it down. Or whether they can have the ability to put a new sign up after the highway's been widened is questionable. Can they get another ground lease? Will the property owner sell them? Whatever the case may be. So back to my question, this is a property rights issue with eminent domain coming into play. And as I understand the bill, it simply says all we want to do is be fairly compensated. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have no further questions or comments for y'all. Thank you very much. We're still out of session, and TDOT has requested to speak as well. I've no Leader Love is as he rightfully should, is saying I shaved my head for this, but we're going to take 3 minutes on this. And members, if we could, I don't want to limit conversation, but I may be making a request here in a few minutes that we may roll this bill and have some conversation. I would like TDOT to either respond or make some comments on this, and then we're going to reserve some time for next week on this particular piece of legislation. Mr. Klein, if you could tell us who you are, who you're with, and what you'd like us to know. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay Klein, Director of Legislation for TDOT. Appreciate the committee letting me speak real briefly on this item. Wanted to first share that from a philosophical position, the department is neutral. However, we do have a fiscal note concern with this legislation. As was alluded to by the industry representatives, many times there is not a location to which the billboard that is impacted by a road, typically probably a road widening project, but perhaps an interchange improvement or other similar projects like that could impact a billboard. And right now, TDOT pays for the cost of the deconstruction of the sign and the relocation of the sign. And like I said, sometimes there might not be a location to be relocated to, but that is still a part of our compensation. However, a just compensation, as this legislation would require, would significantly increase the cost of our right-of-way acquisition for projects. This legislation was introduced as an amendment to a caption bill in 2023, and fiscal review generated a $22 million recurring fiscal note, both for the state, but also for a local impact for cities and counties, as there is a component of this legislation that also captures and impacts cities and counties that may make certain zoning decisions that might impact a billboard. And so the thing I wanted to raise for the committee is just to recognize that from a philosophical standpoint, we are deferential to the will of the General Assembly. However, should this legislation be passed, and should there not be appropriations set aside to offset the impact of the additional right-of-way costs, what it would likely trigger is the department would need to reevaluate our 10-year plan for any projects that have an impact on a billboard along that right-of-way, and we would need to increase our estimates for those projects and rework that plan, and it would likely result in several projects falling out of the 10-year plan, as essentially we would be increasing the cost for all of our projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Some interesting points have come up in the conversation. Any questions or brief questions or comments from Mr. Klein while we're out of session? Thank you, Mr. Klein, very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go back into session, and I'm going to make a request that we roll this bill for 1 week. I think there's some ideas we may need to simmer on for a little while. I think I'm at the will of the committee. I'm going to motion that we roll this bill for 1 week. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor of rolling this bill 1 week, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay. And I don't want to seem, I don't want to be heavy-handed in this particular situation, but I think we've had some really good conversation. I think maybe we have some ongoing conversation with Chairman, and we'll pick this up where we left off last week. I think there's some conversations that we need to continue. So without objection, House Bill 1021 by Chairman Russell is rolled 1 week. We are now back on the heel of the calendar, which is item number 15. Item number 536 by Leader Love. Have a motion? Second. We have a second. Leader Love, you are recognized on House Bill 536. I believe you've got some amendatory language you've been working with the Department of Commerce and Insurance on. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. It should be drafting code 004056.
Yes, that is the amendment that we've got. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and put amendment drafting code 4056 on the bill. If approved, you have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of adopting drafting code amendment 4056, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Your bill is amended, ready for description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. This particular bill seeks to address a problem that a nonprofit in our state is having. Mechanics on a Mission is a nonprofit organization that goes out and purchases vehicles. Then the mechanics repair it for free. And then they donate the vehicles to persons that are having issues with transportation. And so they have a problem, though, in the titling process, because they have to buy the vehicle and title it in Mechanics on a Mission's name, then title it in the recipient's name. And they're trying to have language change in Tennessee code that will allow them to have a special dealer's license. And the qualifications in the amended language you see there is that if a person or organization rather wants to have a motor vehicle dealer application or license rather, they'd have to be a nonprofit religious organization that is organized and incorporated in this state, has a certificate of incorporation or certificate of authority in good standing with the Secretary of State, has an established program in the state that receives donations of motor vehicles, which the organization in turn donates to individuals with demonstrated need of a motor vehicle, and provides free vehicle repair services to individuals with demonstrated need of such services. These donations and services being necessary to the individual's effort to become a self-sufficient member of the workforce. They don't sell the vehicles, they give them away. But again, the challenge is with the titling of the vehicle once they possess it and give it to the next person. So that's what the bill is about. And we do have someone here. He tried to get his application in to come and testify. I think he was a few minutes late in doing that. Mr. Brian Sweat, if you want to allow him to, Mr. Chairman.
Leader Love, I don't think the committee is desiring testimony at the moment.
Okay.
I think there seems to be some indication. Do we have any questions? Any questions for the sponsor of the legislation at this moment? I guess I've got an initial question, just ensuring that carve out is the first word that comes to my mind, but ensuring that we're not negatively impacting some other folks.
Sure.
And I understand we're very specific, this particular organization in these very particular instances that we're looking to work with this very worthy cause. And it sounds like it's some great work that's being done to get vehicles into the driving abilities of folks who really need it. So just want to ensure that we're helping the right people, but not harming others.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yes, sir.
I think there's any more comments, closing comments. I think the committee's ready to vote.
And I know that committees are probably closing down soon. And I've had a conversation with some of the interest parties to say that if we can get it out of subcommittee, willing to hold it in full until we can work some things out and get everybody to a satisfied place.
Okay. All right. The question has been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 536 to full Transportation Committee, Mr. Clerk, if you could please open the vote. All those in favor of sending House Bill 536 to full committee, please signify by saying or voting aye. All those opposed, please say no. Mr. Clerk, if you could, does any member wish to change your vote? Mr. Clerk, if you could please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 7 ayes and 0 noes.
House Bill 536 receives affirmative action in this particular committee. You go to full transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Thank you. Any further business to come before the subcommittee? Thank you very much. We've had a busy committee and subcommittee day. I appreciate all of your work today. We are adjourned.